I want to go ahead and welcome everybody, and since we're kind of in two worlds at once, there may be people popping in a little bit later as they find their way here, but I'll go ahead and welcome everybody to the Digital Citizenship Museum here in Kitley, part of the Virtual World MOOC 2018. This is a session for the nonprofit commons group that meets in Second Life on Fridays. Most of you know me as Valibarian. I'm Valerie Hill, the director of the Community Virtual Library in Second Life. That's our main branch. This is our newest branch right here in Kitley. We are going to be touring our Digital Citizenship Museum today with the curator of the museum, and that is Marie Vans. This is, as I said, our latest branch that we've opened. And we're also going to be opening a new branch in Second Life, which I mentioned a few moments ago at the Nonprofit Commons meeting. We're going to open a Community Virtual Library nonprofit resource library. We're renovating the old library with updates to resources that are more current. We're going to tour the old library in a couple of weeks on September 7th with a grand opening later in the fall. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the Community Virtual Library, we offer real librarianship in virtual worlds. I'm going to walk up on the stage while a couple more people are gathering here. As I said, the new branch that we're going to be opening will be a branch of the Community Virtual Library, but it's definitely all for the nonprofit commons. So you can see their logo here on our slide. So our tagline on our website for the Community Virtual Library is Real Librarianship in Virtual Worlds. So our staff is made up of information professionals, such as our Assistant Director, Alyse Dunvant-Jones, who's a recent MLIS graduate with her Library Science degree, and she's sharing this presentation today on Zoom. I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about digital citizenship before we tour the museum. I want to also mention our mission statement. Community Virtual Library is the hub that connects digital citizens in virtual worlds with the information and resources they seek. So you notice that phrase, digital citizens. Why are we using that phrase, and why is digital citizenship such an important topic? It's so important that we're really spending a lot of time curating the content for this museum. Well, we believe that digital citizenship is important because, well, look around you. Everywhere you go, you're going to see people like this photo that I recently took on the bus. You're going to see people who are staring at their mobile devices. They don't really seem to be with us in the physical world. That's because digital culture has really changed our lives. We are connected to our mobile devices 24/7, and we live in global, participatory, networked culture. That makes us digital citizens. So we've been exploring virtual worlds now for a decade, and many of us are also exploring virtual reality. I like to put it this way. We all live in digital culture, and that means that whether or not you have an avatar, you live in a virtual world. We all live in virtual worlds. And as we tour the museum today, you are going to see many different perspectives on different elements of digital citizenship. And we're going to walk around the Digital Citizenship Museum on the tour, and then at the close of the tour, we're going to visit our digital literacy resource library for questions, and we'll have a time for brainstorming and networking to talk about how we can help you, how we can help your communities. So while we're taking the tour, you might want to jot down some questions and some ideas that we can talk about at the end of the tour. You see in that one photo there, it's a picture of me in the physical world with a virtual reality headset. We just had a presentation here on cybersecurity and with an internet specialist who talked about how virtual reality and virtual worlds may someday merge. Currently, I'm really viewing this virtual worlds as a sort of a part of virtual reality. You don't really need a headset here, but you can be immersed in something where a real clear focus where you're not scattered like you are when you're just carrying around your mobile device. So I think as educators and librarians and subject experts or nonprofit commons, leaders of various nonprofits, we need to really be thinking about the best uses of virtual reality and virtual worlds as digital citizens. So I mentioned that we're going to end at the Digital Literacy Resource Center. Jot down some ideas for us, but also you might want to click on the two pedestals that you see located on either side of the stage where I'm standing. One of them, when you click, will give you a form for our virtual world database that we're working on. You can add your communities to our database so that people can find you and the work you do in virtual worlds. The other pedestal will lead you to a form for our virtual world bibliography. This is our latest project. We're working on listing citations to virtual world research. If you know of any good research articles or you have published some yourself, feel free to put those in the form on those two pedestals. So we're getting ready to take our tour, and I hopefully everybody has found us here in Kitley. And so I'm going to turn our program over now to our museum curator, Marie Vans, and she's going to tell us where we're going to walk. If you'll kind of stick together and follow Marie, we're going to go around in a circle and see many of the various perspectives on digital citizenship. If one of them appeals to you, jot it down because we're going to go kind of quickly around this amazing museum, but we will follow up with a little bit more information on each of the different virtual rooms of our Digital Citizenship Museum. And Marie will also tell you how you can contribute if you have ideas that we need to add to our Digital Citizenship Museum. So take it away, Marie.
Okay, thank you, Val. And hopefully you can all hear me at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by going west. And we're going to start with Selby's exhibit here for virtual outworlding, and then we're going to just keep going left till we come right back to the resource library. One thing I wanted to mention before we get going is that less than 3 months ago we had something like 5 or 6 exhibits here. Within the last few months, couple of months, we've greatly expanded, and now what we have are 2 buildings left. Now we can always go up, and there's lots of things we can do, but what's really kind of cool about this is that it's a great place now to learn about digital citizenship. And as Val mentioned, if you see any holes you think we need, please let one of us know. And also, if you're interested in grabbing one of the last 2 buildings, let one of us know. So here we go. We're going to start going west. Everybody come on in. Might be a little bit tight. Should just be able to walk right through the door. You don't have to open it. So this is a building, a small building that we have a couple of media on prims that Selby, you guys probably all know Selby, wanted to put up. One of them is about his blog, and again, these are media on prim, so you should be able to just bring those up and go directly to the website and see it. And then the other one is this Digital Lessons for Teachers, which is pretty new thing for Google. It's a what do you call it? A collaboration between a company called Pear and Google. And if you have time, it's mostly for people who are teaching younger kids, but it's very, very informative, and actually all of us should know the information that's presented in that. And then there is this another, there's another, in this small room here, there's another media on prem for digital safety resources. Now, we're not going to have time for everybody to go through everything, but if you see something, please, you know, bookmark, let's try that again. Let's landmark the place and come back and spend more time in these places. So now I'm going to go next door. Everybody come in. Now this is actually something that's very near and dear to my heart. This was put together by Lear Lobo, if you know her. She's a professor who is working in the STEM fields. And as a woman in a STEM field myself, I understand that the lack of women in STEM fields is actually quite a big problem. And that's what this exhibit is about. But the reason why it actually is related to digital citizenship is because if 95% of the people who are participating in digital culture are men, then we have a problem. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the vast majority of the people who play online games like, what's that one, Fortnite, are men. And so they get socialized that way. And even I just read an article about some very famous YouTuber won't even play with women. It's against his whatever, he won't do it. And he's made that statement. So this is the reason why this particular exhibit is very important. So let's go next door. There's a lot of nice statistics in there too that you'd probably be surprised if you are already familiar with it. Now this one, is Renee by any chance here? Or Zinnia? This one is Zinnia's, and hers takes up 3 buildings because, you know, she is so colorful. And she, her whole thing is about avatar authenticity, which is very related to, avatar authenticity is very related to digital citizenship because, you know, as we know, many of us try to build our avatars to represent ourselves. So this building takes up 3. You may have already seen this presentation. And but if you haven't, it's definitely worthwhile coming through this particular exhibit. And again, please landmark these places if you're interested in coming back. Okay, let's move on. So the next one is by Dancers Yao. And here we have, so you can pick up some note cards as well as read the posters. This particular exhibit appeared in the the CVL Second Life Digital Citizenship Museum exhibit last year, or like I guess maybe now it's been 18 months, something like that. So this one is focused on using stories. On to the next one. And I apologize if I'm going too fast for you guys. We wanted to make sure that there's plenty of time at the end when we get to the resource library. Now this one is the Interstellar Art Exhibit. Another one that appeared in the Second Life Digital Citizenship Museum or Digital Citizenship Exhibit. And I'm wondering if our artist would like to say anything. And yes, Val said that artists must understand digital citizenship from respect for intellectual property, and we will see soon that we have an exhibit on copyright here. Let's go on to the next one. Now this exhibit is about avatars and AI. Sorry, maybe I went too fast. We're going in this door. So many of you may be familiar with this particular exhibit as well because it's appeared in the Second Life, and the person that put together this exhibit is somebody who does bots, and she's worked very hard on some bots in Second Life that are pretty amazing that you can interact with. And we're actually hoping for her to do a presentation for us at Vicara this coming fall, so we can interact with her bot, which is called Plot Check. So anyway, this is another very interesting presentation on whether or not we should have artificial intelligence as avatars. It's a very, very loaded discussion, I'm sure. Okay, now on to the next one. Okay, now this one. This one is from Gentle. And you guys know Gentle from Virtual Ability. And she put together this presentation on corporate social media blenders, and I'm not sure if she's ever presented this before, but it's a very enlightening, presentation. I believe that each poster will give you a note card to talk about the concept that shows up in the image. Yeah, so very nice presentation. Okay, on to the next one. Now this next one is about genealogy, and maybe that's why there's a bunch of trees here. This was put together by Sherry Daniels, who she actually did a presentation for us in the Vicara conference about genealogy. It's very interesting, her approach to using virtual worlds. A lot of it has to do with education, obviously, but again, I don't see her here, but she's in Second Life. She's pretty active in genealogy. Oh, thanks. All right, let's move on. So the next one is done by Val. And I'm going to let Val maybe come in and say some words about her exhibit since she's here.
Yes, I'll just say that my presentation is basically, and sorry, there's a loud lawnmower outside my window. My presentation is basically an overview of why we need digital citizenship at all ages, from the youngest of children. And I'll just give you one quick example. Some parents in my school library a few years back, I asked them, when does digital citizenship start? And many of them said, oh, I would say around age 8 or 9. But if you look at, I'm over here in this corner. If you look at this photo of a sonogram, many parents post a sonogram of their unborn child. Digital citizenship actually can begin before birth. We are digital citizens throughout our lifetime in digital culture. And it's really important that we understand that what we're sharing and where and what that means. So there's just some information in here about how culture has changed and why digital citizenship is so essential. So you can keep moving, Marie.
Oh, it might help to turn my microphone back on. Okay, talking away there to myself. Okay, let's move on. This next one is Terms of Service, which was put together by Sparky, which many of you may know. And basically, this is a video that she put together about terms of service, and also appeared part of the Digital Citizenship exhibit in Second Life. There's only one thing here, so I'm going to step out. Then the next one is actually mine. No, not mine. Sorry, Inspiration Island. See, we added a whole bunch of them within the last couple of months. So here's Inspiration Island, and one of these I think gives out a note card. And oh my gosh, there's some stuff here. You guys probably know all about this because they've presented at nonprofits before. Yes, whole brain health. And I'm not sure if this one was up at the Digital Citizenship exhibit in Second Life or not. Was it? It was, okay. Do you want to say something about it, Senna? I can give you the floor if you wanted to point anything out. Okay, then we'll move on. Hopefully, you found the what do you call it? I can't move now suddenly. Okay, there I can. So hopefully you found this room nice. All right, let's move on. So the next one actually is the one I put together for the exhibit on Second Life on digital citizenship for kids. And I have been periodically adding stuff to this, mostly media on prim here, for various things that come to my attention. One of my favorite things right now is this Be Internet Awesome. I'm gonna see if I can't get in here between. I can't move. Anyway, this Be Internet Awesome thing is, if you get a chance, come back and watch it. Look at what Google is trying to do for helping create digitally literate citizens. And let me try to see. And then there's just other things here that are sort of trying to help you teachers figure out how to get their kids to understand what digital citizenship means. And I did this because I've run some Minecraft after school clubs and First Lego League, and I seen firsthand how kids can be totally clueless, especially with regard to safety online. So this is another important topic for digital citizenship. So we'll move on. Now this is Eric Moore's building, and you may have seen him. He had a presentation here in the for the MOOC, the Virtual World MOOC on Sunday. So if you saw that, then you'll recognize some of the issues that he's sharing here with regard to security in digital or in virtual worlds. We're going to add a resources box in here because one of the things he did is he mentioned several tools that we should all be using, and the vast majority of us are not. And so I feel like this is something that's kind of critical. So I'm working with him to get those references, and then maybe we can put together some kind of a seminar to help people get their security set up so that it's a lot less vulnerable than all of our security is, or all of our stuff is now. So next one. Now remember I said we had 2 buildings left. This is one of them. This kind of building I'm standing right in front of, there's nothing in there, so that's an available building. And the next building is one that's put together by Will Burns. And I don't know, I don't think he's here, is he? No. Okay. So this is about, oh, sorry. This is a very interesting presentation on virtual world, or the future of the metaverse, and he uses some things from Ready Player One and Second Life. This, I don't know if he's done a presentation on this. If he has, I didn't see it, but I found this particular one very enlightening. I would love to have him come and talk to us too. Okay, on to the next one. Now this building is our very own Alyse's building on curating virtual world communities. Alyse, would you like to say something?
Yeah, sure. And I think folks in Zoom should be able to hear me also. And I wanted to mention to our folks in Zoom that if anyone wanted to say anything to anyone in World, I'm able to enable that so that you can speak to people in Kitley through Zoom. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. But yeah, this building is mostly dedicated to the Virtual World database. And I'm going to try to make sure that I have it zoomed into the poster here for the folks in Zoom. But I began working on the database just through a project with SDSU when I was a student at the School of Information. And Val at CVL had mentioned that they were looking at creating a database. And I did a lot with digital curation. And this exhibit defines digital curation, things like that. And it also explains the project that I embarked on one semester at school with several other students. And so it kind of speaks to the sheer amount of research that went into creating the database and looking at issues like metadata, as well as how we were going to best serve our communities with the database and what needed to be in there. So that's what this exhibit is all about. It's about the idea of cataloging these virtual world communities and how I and 3 other students in the iSchool went about conducting research for it. And actually getting that done and working with both Val as well as our professor, who is an expert in digital curation. And so I would like to add on to this exhibit at some point with a lot of the more current stuff with the database, because since this presentation, it's gotten quite a few more entries, and we also have incorporated some landmarks. And I've been working on recruiting volunteers for the database and things like that. There's a whole lot going on with it. So I definitely will be adding to this in the future. And it also ties very much so into not only the cataloging, but also the archival possibilities for, if not archiving, then at the very least documenting virtual worlds, so that we all can not only find each other in the present, but so that we also know who was here, what they were doing, and who we can contact. Maybe somebody had a sim that was related to what we want to do now. Maybe we can contact that person, or maybe we can look at what they did to better understand what we can do rather than reinventing the wheel. So it all kind of falls together with the digital citizenship, for sure, connecting with each other. That's a huge one, as well as just knowing what we're doing. So that's kind of it for this little room here. And there's also some information about some of the student activities I'm involved in, like Vicara, and there's another landmark for adding to the database. So if you have a community in virtual worlds, be it Kitley or Second Life or the many, many other virtual worlds out there, you're always welcome to submit to that form that we had given out. You can submit that, and then it goes through me and other CVL volunteers to kind of look at do some fact checking, and then we add it to the database. And so, yeah, I would like to build onto the room, but otherwise, I think that's it.
So, and I'd also just like to point out that the thing that I'm standing right in front of right now, this is not, this is you can buy this for $0. That allows you to get a copy of it and put it on your own sim for others if you wanted to help us spread the word. So we're going to go on to the next one. And let's see, what is this? Oh, this is our brand new copyright museum, or copyright room. And I believe Bethany is here if she wants to say some words. If she can. Some people can't. Okay, well, I'll just talk briefly about every poster in here has a note card associated with it that you can go learn more about copyright, things like Creative Commons and the DCAA. This is a really important topic, especially for virtual worlds, and we're probably going to expand this at some point in time. One of the things you can also do here is there's a references box that you can grab. Will give you a note card with websites, books, and articles that you can read to get up to speed on copyright and digital culture. And yeah, this one is the last one. We just finished it yesterday. And our curator is Bethany here. But unfortunately we can't hear her. Her mic isn't working. So hopefully maybe she'll come do a talk on copyright for us too at some point. It should be up to date. All right, let's move on then. We're getting close. We're getting close. Okay, this is the gamification in education room, and there's not much in here yet. Many of you may recognize this environment. At the moment, this is going to be a shared building. Right now, what we have is Brant Knutson's stuff on the Quest, and then also another talk on using quests for education. Yes, he's doing his PhD on this topic. I believe now Val knows someone else who's interested in putting up more resources, because she's also working on the topic of gamification, I believe. Correct? Is that correct, Val?
Yes, that's true. 12th night in Second Life, she did a great presentation on gaming and education, and she's going to be adding to this museum room as well.
Great. Okay, so we can move on. And this is Eme's room. Is Eme still here? Ah, there you are. So this is about from Virtual Ability. Eme is the person who put this together. 2 days ago, I accidentally textured 3 whole buildings, including this one, with one texture, and I had to redo it. So Eme, I hope that I redid it correctly, because I couldn't remember exactly what I had done in here. Yeah, it's pretty funny. We all do that, don't we? At least once. Thank goodness it wasn't the entire sim. Okay, now in front of me now is the second building that's still open. So this is there's 2. This one has nothing in it, so it's available. And then finally, we reach our resource library. And we're going to stop in here and talk more about digital citizenship in general. So everybody should come in. I just wanted to note that the presentation on the wall is the slides from a presentation that I gave at the Virtual Worlds Best Practices in Education on improving digital literacy. I have to unfortunately jump for a second, so hopefully, Val, are you here?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I'll be right back.
Sure, that's fine. Marie has a little something she has to do in her physical world job, and that happens. That's the beauty of Virtual Worlds, is that we can be here at any time of day across distance and space. You can see that the whole point of this resource library is a place to curate some of the things that people need to understand about digital citizenship. And when you just get on the web and search for it, you know, you're pulled in all different directions. What we want to do here is pull together some ideas so that you can think about where to go to get information on digital citizenship. Where I'm standing, as you come in the door, if you turn to the right and you go back here where it says resources, there are some YouTube videos, things like, I think Ellen DeGeneres has a video that shows some horrible things that have happened on social media that really helps us understand, you know, how we are leaving our digital footprints and ways that we need to think about what we share online. Oversharing really happens at all ages, from young people through senior citizens. So there's just different things like that. And then on the other side, if you look where I'm walking over this way, we are collecting some books and resources on how information literacy has totally changed in the last decade. So if you zoom in on some of the books over here, you'll see things like one that I recently read by Sherry Turkle, Reclaiming Conversation. It's just a powerful read about how young people are not really talking anymore face to face. They're using their digital devices, IMing each other, they're texting. Even when they want to meet with their professor, they really do not want to meet face to face. They'd much rather use, you know, technology. And she's arguing that we do need to sometimes learn how to converse with each other. And I think that really, think about it, that makes a virtual world, it's really an argument that virtual worlds may be a good space when you can't be together physically, but yet you get the sense of being together. I'm actually speaking with you all right now. We are in this digital literacy library together. We have this sense of being in a space rather than, I mean, you can't just do that on your mobile device. It's so easy to swipe away and just delete, and only look what you want to look at. And so I think some of these books here talk about the way culture has changed, and given us opportunities to simply delete what we don't want to see and just go to what we do want to see. And it's really part of digital citizenship and digital literacy. So that's one of the books, Reclaiming Conversation. If you have some titles that you think really address how literacy has changed, we would love to put them here. And it's a place where we can come and kind of talk about how information literacy has changed, and just new media in general, you know, how we can utilize new media for the best purposes. So I do want to open up now to some questions, either in, we probably should start with chat, and then if I want to give somebody the mic, we can do that. We don't want to talk over each other, but please type a question or a comment in the text chat. Hopefully you have been thinking about all these different ways that digital citizenship has changed our lives. And Marie, I'm just opening it up to, Marie's back now. I'm opening the conversation up for some questions.
Okay, I just wanted to, I'm going to shut up, but we just wanted to say that if people have, you know, ideas for resources that they want to add here, and you may have already said this, so I apologize if I'm repeating you. There's the bibliography input form, and the and you can IM me or Val or Alyse with ideas as well. We'd be more than happy to put them up in here.
And we can also take questions from those who are in Zoom. at the same time. So if you've been looking around at these rooms, something might come to mind that's lacking here about digital citizenship, or something that's unclear. I know sometimes we use the academic jargon, as educators, and Selby was really good at pointing out it's simply digital street smarts. We don't have to use digital citizenship and different terms like that. It's how to be smart online, how to be safe online, and how to be accurate online, and there's a lot of ways that we can put digital citizenship. Looks like a question in chat. How are other educators using this resource? Well, we have been curating this museum now just this year, so this is a new project. We've done just a couple of presentations here. We also bring the same type of content into our main branch in Second Life. But we want to realize that Second Life is a proprietary virtual world, not the only virtual world, and a lot of educators are moving to open source platforms like here in Kitley and other open sims. So we want to have branches in several places. We're also moving to Avacon. So this space is, we haven't had that many events and speakers here. We plan to utilize the space for events and speakers, but also bring them to other areas. And I might mention here too, next door to this space where we have our Digital Citizenship Museum, we're going to be building a hypergrid resource library to help people navigate and grid hop. Let's say you want to do a presentation here, or maybe you have a space in Digiworldz, or maybe you have a space in Avacon or on OpenSim. We want to learn how to navigate these spaces so educators can find each other and not reinvent the wheel and build something that someone else has already spent a lot of time and effort creating. We want to promote the good work of educators. So we haven't had a lot of presentations here yet, but we're just building and archiving so that we can understand the best way to connect the resources to the educators.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. I can't remember if we mentioned this at the beginning or not, but part of the initial reason that we created this museum was because of the super successful exhibit at CVL that we had in Second Life, but our exhibits at the library there are meant to be temporary. And so there was a huge response and lots of people coming through. And so we wanted to make sure that we had a space to actually have those presentations and more, because it became clear that it was such an important topic. And so that's something where we know that educators in Second Life were already benefiting from the content. And so that's where the idea to create this space came from on Cookie. Yeah, definitely, to be more sustainable. Yeah. And I don't think that it's in our database right now, actually, as a community, because I think right now it would be considered more of a landmark. But it would be great. The space is open if professors and teachers want to come in. But I'd say it's also a great space for people to just come and explore and learn about digital citizenship. So that's the main purpose. And then I know Val had mentioned we'd like to have more and more events here and things like that. And the talks like the cybersecurity talk. And I know Marie had mentioned maybe we can do one for copyright. And stuff like that. Yes. And so if there's a way, if there are folks that are interested in digital citizenship and they'd like to use this, either this space or CVL in Second Life, or maybe even a group somewhere else online, that's a big reason that we're here today, is to kind of get feedback from folks.
Yes, I'm trying to move my mic a little bit closer. Let's see if you can hear me a little bit better. I think the people in Zoom were having a little problem hearing me. But yes, we do have room to expand here. We could even build up. Marie, I believe we could build up. And we also have a secret underwater place. We're not even sure what we're going to put underwater, but under the courtyard, there's an underwater area. So we still can grow if you have something to add.
Right, especially if what you have is mermaid themed, right? Yeah, it's a huge spot. So we could do special events down there, and we could also just put probably at least 4 more exhibits down there, maybe 6.
Yes, the first thing that came to mind to me with the underwater area was the whole concept of, you know, the dark web, or the different the things that you can't see, or how hard it is to go and search online and find what you're looking for. I mean, there's so many different metaphors for what might be under, you know, underneath.
Yeah, I think that would be great. We could do a presentation on the dark web. I think most people are kind of scared. So it'd be interesting to see what it really is.
Yes, and Eric Moore, our cybersecurity expert, spoke a little bit about it, and how, you know, there's also so much lost and buried. You know, when you in the Internet Archive, and there's space. It kind of leads to the topic of archival too, and what's sort of hidden and how you have to dig. So, you know, I think what this is making me realize is that, you know, we can't learn all of this by ourselves. The whole point of this museum is each of us has little a certain kind of a narrow, limited viewpoint of what we understand about digital culture and digital content. And if we share and open it up to each other, we learn so much more. And so that's the whole point, is getting people who really are experts to come in and share their expertise.
I had a just kind of something. I know something we wanted to address today. I know we only have so many more minutes. Accessibility was another big one, and I know for the museum, but also for people who might be interested in coming into Kitley, and maybe they weren't able to get it. If anybody has questions about that, or about kind of the hypergrid, but also ways that we can make the museum accessible to people who can't come into Kitley, or people who can but have disabilities. I know that we met with, I think she's here today because I think that we went through her exhibit. But we met with someone not too long ago who just kind of did a very quick whirlwind tour of the sim, and pointed out at least 2 or 3 things that we were able to change immediately. Like making the doors, you can both walk through the doors and open them. It used to be that you had to open the doors to get in, and so just being able to walk through the doors, and then also we have the big blocks on top of the buildings that rotate, and they were spinning. Yeah, Marie just pointed out in chat, they were spinning quite fast, and so that was something where coming in, you know, oh gosh, this is making me dizzy, you know, just something as simple as that. Oh, Eme, yes, thank you, Marie. Yeah, and so that's something that we can talk about too in building a digital citizenship community, is how on earth do we make it accessible to everyone, because digital citizenship is of course relevant to everyone. And I've mentioned in the Zoom chat that certainly if anyone needs the slides that we have here in the buildings, or links, and they're not able to get into Kitley, Marie has all of those, and so we can send them via email and things like that. And someone in Zoom just mentioned they tried to get in the space through Kitley on Firestorm but couldn't get in. So that's something that we can look at, maybe permissions. But yeah, and I see Val mentioned that Gentle Heron's content. Yeah, that's also very important, because that I think that had to do with the different like blunders and stuff like that that we all do. Yeah, exactly. Everyone, please feel free to follow through with us. We're in Second Life also, and then I put my email in the Zoom group chat for folks. Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Feel free to offer friendship. And so if anyone has kind of, even if it's just a question on what digital citizenship is and how on earth it could possibly benefit your specific field, that's something else that would be helpful. Because I know especially with nonprofit commons, as well as the VWMOOC, people that are participating, everyone has very different, places of business, and some people are educators, some are librarians, some are students, some are people that are in IT. There's just all over the place, and some people are just maybe they're retired or maybe their experience and their exposure to digital literacy and citizenship is through virtual worlds, and that's it. And that's also a very important skill to have and to be talking about. So it kind of spans. And if you're having trouble seeing how it makes sense for you, or even just how it applies to your field, that's something that we can talk about, and how does it work for you, but also on the accessibility side of things. How can we be more accommodating on that side as well?
It looks like we're just about at the top of the hour, and I really want to thank everyone who made the effort to get into Kitley, and I also want to thank those who came to Zoom. Thank you, Alyse, for making that possible as well. And I hope you'll all keep in touch and help us really wrap our heads around the best way to advocate for digital citizenship in these really changing times with all these new media tools at our fingertips.